Welcome to High Ground. My name is Tanner, and today I have a little sponsored video from Infamy. So I did a video with these guys a few months back for the previous Rainbow Six Siege major, and now for the upcoming major, they are running another event with a few interesting changes. So let's get into it. Infamy is a free-to-play fantasy system currently around professional Rainbow Six Siege, Valorant, and Overwatch. We're just going to be focusing on the upcoming Rainbow Six Siege tournament in this video, though. So you pick a group of pros and a team which you think will perform the best over the course of the event, and we're going to talk about how you do that all in a little bit. I'm going to show the process. Each pro and team has their own price, and your team's total cost cannot exceed the given tournament salary. So the salary for this particular tournament is going to be $120. You'll pick 5 players and 1 team. The team that scores the most infamy points earned through, I think it's kills, deaths, entry kills, entry deaths, plants, clutches, and then rounds won and lost for the teams. And some of those, of course, give you points and some cost you points. Indeed, there are ways to lose points. Keep that in mind. And to join a tournament, join the Infamy Discord. The link will be in the description below. Probably I'll also link to this spreadsheet so you can check this out, but also you can navigate to the spreadsheet through the Discord. And in the Discord, make sure you go to game preferences and pick which game to be notified for. So just select Rainbow Six Siege if that's the only one you're interested in for. If you're interested in, but if you also have an interest in Valorant or Overwatch, feel free to turn that on as well. Okay, so I've largely gone over the rules, but let's go over a few things that I suppose we've already gone over and a few things that I may not have already mentioned. So again, the salary, $120, pick 5 pros and 1 team. And of course, you can't exceed the salary cap, but the salary cap is the only restraint that you have. You can do whatever you want. You can pick all 5 players from the same team and the team, assuming that it fits within the budget. And again, that's reiterated here. There is no reward to any salary money left over, so you can spend the full $120 if you want. There's no advantage to not doing that, but you do not have to spend exactly $120 either. 2 of the pros on your team will get special multipliers. So we have an entry player and a support player. Be sure to designate those when you post. And again, I'll show you exactly how to make the post in the Discord. So the entry player is just going to have a 1.5 times multiplier on their entry kill and entry death stats. So do keep in mind, if your entry player is really bad on entry, this could be a detriment to you. But because entry kills are worth much more than entry deaths, again, we'll see the numbers in a little bit. It's generally just valuable to get players that will be in a lot of entry engagements in this role. And then support 1.5 times multiplier to plant stats. So just pick the player on your team that you think is going to plant the most, and no actual downside to this one. And then the team round. So this is one of the new things, the main new thing. So each round that you win will give you 15 points, each round that for the team that you select, of course. And each round that they lose will cost you 10 points. So definitely pick a team that you think is going to do well, and not only that you think will do well in general, but that you think will go far in the tournament. So just winning rounds is nice, but having more opportunities to win rounds is also very nice, and it's probably going to be necessary if you're gunning for that top spot at the end of the event. So I don't think there's anything else that I need to really go over here. If you want to read all the nitty gritty here, just go back to this page from the link and do check it out. But I think I've covered all the pretty much key points. And yeah, whoever's team scores the most points, kills, deaths, plants, clutches, round wins, etc., will win. And yeah, the Discord link again in the description. And here's an example. So I'll show my example a little bit, but here's just a premature example. So you pick your 5 players. One of them will have the ENT, the entry designation. One will have the SUP, the support designation, and the team. Team in parentheses if you so desire. Make sure you have all the names, you have all of the prices, and at the bottom, if you want, you can put the total, which probably will be close to 120. I don't think you actually have to designate this. They're definitely going to double check that you didn't go over and didn't cheat or anything. Anyways, and so again, here's the point breakdowns. I alluded to some of this, but let's take an actual look. Kills give you 10 points. Deaths give you -6 points. So kills are worth more than deaths. So even if you think a player will die a lot, if they are also getting a lot of kills, it might be valuable to pick them. If they go 100 and 100, that could be a lot better than if a player went 50 and 45 or something like that, because again, kills are worth over 50% more than how many points you lose for a death. And then we have entry kills, entry deaths, first kills, first deaths. There's even more of a disparity here. So an entry kill is worth 2.5 times more points than an entry death will cost you. So again, Just pick players that you think will be getting into a lot of entry engagements. Even if they win and lose about the same amount, it's okay. I mean, if you think a player is going to go 20-0, you might want to pick them anyways. But if a player goes 20-20, that could be good for you as well. And then we have clutches and plants. Not nearly as important because each of these is only worth as many points as a kill, and these are both much rarer. And I will say, as far as picking your support player, if you don't want to pick, I mean, of course you will designate a support player, but if you don't want to pick a player that you think is going to get a lot of the plants, don't, because I will advise you, if you pick a player just because they're going to get plants, if their KD is awful, they are not worth picking. Maybe if they're super cheap or something, like it, I'm just telling you now, like it is definitely a handicap. There are a handful of players that probably will get a lot of kills and a lot of plants. They might be worth picking, but if that's not the case, I would advise you against picking them. And then, yeah, the 15 points for the round win, 10 points for the round loss. And this doesn't actually apply to anything we're doing here. There's no upper bracket in this event, so don't have to worry about this last part. And all right, so that covers all of the rules, I believe. I hope I didn't miss anything. Let's go on to look at the actual prices and things like that. So that was the first tab, the rules tab that we were just looking at. And then the second tab here will have pretty much all of the information you need outside of the rules, a little bit of reiteration as far as the rules go at the top. And then there's some tracking stuff going on here. And that's mostly also what's going on the third and fourth tabs. So, I mean, no need to really look at them until the event starts, but feel free to check back to the spreadsheet once you're all signed up. Keep track of it as the event goes on, and you can see how well you're doing compared to everyone else, see how well all of your players are doing, things like this. Don't expect it to be updated immediately. It does have to be done manually, so definitely give the team behind this a little bit of leeway. Generally, they have it done by the end of the day, but, you know, give them just a little bit of grace period. And again, this is all tracking stuff. So here is the meat and potatoes of what we're doing here. These are all the teams, all the prices, and well, player prices up here. And if we go down here, we have team prices. So I guess I'm just going to walk you through my methodology. I mean, if you really, really want, you can just copy my team, but that's not very much fun. So at least try to deviate one player from what I'm doing here. So, okay, they have it set up. There are 4 groups, 4 teams in each group, 1 group from each region, 1 seed, and seeds and regions don't matter too much, but yeah, they have it set up to where you can see which, you can pretty easily see which teams are in which group. It's set up those are all next to each other. Okay, so let's just go down the line and I'll give some quick opinions here. Cyclops, they're relatively expensive considering they come from APAC. I'm not really an APAC hater, but I mean, you know, just APAC has never done anything relevant, and until they do, I would not advise picking them. My methodology is generally pick pretty consistent players, and you do have to keep in mind the price. I mean, you can't just pick Palu and Keys and whoever else you want. You're gonna run out of money too quickly. Yeah, try to pick consistent players and also pick players on teams that you think are going to go far, and that's very important. If a player goes all the way to the grand finals, but they did really bad, I mean, it might not work out, but if they made it all the way to the grand final, they had a lot of opportunities to get kills and entry kills, plants, clutches, all that stuff. And again, since all of the positive things outweigh the negative things pretty heavily, just playing a lot of rounds probably will benefit you. So again, I'm not going to rock with Cyclops or Eminem or Black Dragons for that matter. As far as this group, and if you want to know a little bit more, my predictions, the previous video that I uploaded went over that, and you'll notice maybe a few of my picks don't strictly line up with my predictions, but well, if you're gunning for like first place in this, you might need to do some crazy stuff. If you just want to do pretty well, you can do like some safe picks. If you just want to get like top 5 or top 10 or something, like you might be able to manufacture that. But if you want to win, you, again, might need to do some things that are a little bit against the grain. But my first pick, not going to be against the grain. So as far as Group A goes, the one that I'm the most confident in making out of this group is Sonics. I feel like they're almost all lock. Of course, not for sure. And a lot of people are saying this is definitely the most volatile group. Anyone could make it out, but I do think Sonics have the best chance of making it out. I'm going to go with Grixer. Only $23, I think, is an absolute steal. He is one of the best, if not just the best player in the world at the moment. And he almost never doesn't perform. Maybe he has a few bad games, but he virtually always puts up really good stats. Just very positive, a lot of kills, things like this. Him, Keys, and Palu, I think, are probably the most sure thing players of anyone. But Grixer costs 23, Palu costs 31, Keys, I think, also costs 31. Yeah, 31, and that's just a little bit too expensive for my blood. So I'm rocking with Grixer for my first pick. I always pick him, and he almost never lets me down. We're gonna go with that. And then moving on, Sandbox. Again, I'm not rocking with them or Heroic. I feel like this is the most likely This is the group that I would lock in the results for, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think Liquid and TSM are pretty likely to make it out. I could see maybe Sandbox or Heroic taking one of those two spots, but Liquid and TSM just feel like they are making it out based on my assessment and based on the assessments of many other people. So I do end up picking a Liquid player, and that's Resets. This was actually my final pick, and it might seem weird because he generally doesn't do amazingly. I think he did okay in Co-op Elite 6. He didn't do very well in the regular stage most recently, but I had exactly $19 left over, and I wanted to pick a player that could potentially get a lot of kills. Also, he sometimes gets a lot of entry kills. So I definitely favored that players that I thought would get a lot of kills and also be in a lot of entry engagements. So I think a little bit of a risky pick here, but it was just my 5th pick and I had to pick someone. And so I picked a player on Liquid which is a team that I expect to go decently far. And I didn't want to go with Lagonis because support player, just usually doesn't put up that great of stats. Maybe Lagonis will outperform him. We'll see. Maybe I'll regret this, but I did pick another support player. If I didn't already have one, I might have gone with Lagonis here. Okay. And then I did from TSM pick Snake. So I kind of probably would have liked Merc or Bolo a little bit more. We'll see how Snake performs. He did quite well in the one match he played in the Saudi Arabian tournament, but that's a pretty small sample size as far as international events go. He did do pretty well, quite well indeed in the recent NAL stage that he just played in to qualify for this. And so I'm going with him. Also another player that I expect to get into a lot of entry engagements, so he could get me a lot of kills in that regard, as well as just regular frags. So I'm going to go with him. I think $19 is a pretty good rate. And then not picking Fury. Group of Death here, Group C, maybe Group B, depending on how you want to call it. I think more people are saying Group C is a Group of Death. Sorry, Fury. Everybody expects you to get crushed. I mean, your players are at a little bit of a bargain rate, but not worth it in my eyes. I picked Brede from BDS, so this doesn't really align with my prediction. I did predict BDS to not make it out of this group. I predict W7M and DesSG, but as I mentioned earlier, if you want to get first place, which is the only outcome I want, I mean, if I get second place, I'll be like happy if I get second or third or whatever, but I will be a little bit disappointed to get second rather than first. And if anybody is going to get me there as far as picking a support player, I think Brede. So there's only a handful of support players that I would be happy picking in this tournament. Brede, one of them. The other Souls, maybe. Is there even anyone else? I mean, maybe like Vibu. Like, did he even plant? He did really well the last stage for a good chunk of it. I don't remember if he was their planter though. Probably Shinka was getting the plants down. But yeah, generally these support players are just going to go negative on kills, and because kills are just more important than plants, because again, plants are much more rare than kills. But worth the same amount of points. I just can't favor players that are just getting down plants. Brede gets kills, gets plants, is only $18. I'm rocking with him as my support player. And then I did want to get somebody from W7M, but their players are just really expensive. There is Julio. He was also 19, but he is almost for sure going to go pretty heavy negative and get down a bunch of plants, whereas everyone else on his team probably getting the frags, but again, they're all pretty expensive. Herds, I did pick him in a previous tournament, and he did fairly well for me. He was sort of a budget pick, and I would love to have keys, but $31 is a bit crazy. And then SSG, I picked them to go really far, of course, but it's just a little bit risky, and their players have all been too inconsistent for me to actually pin down which one I would want. Yeti did really, really well this last stage, but that doesn't necessarily mean he'll do well at this event. So we'll see. If he was $19 instead of 21, I might have gone with Yeti, but I only had 19 left at the end. And then not going with Direwolves or Wolves or Mirage, and so my final pick is going to be from FaZe, right? Let me double check. I said 4 already. So I got Grixer, I got Resets, I got Snake, and I got Brede, and my final pick is going to be Cyber. I feel like he's an absolute steal at $22. Usually is an absolute killer when it comes to international events. He didn't perform that well in the Copa Elite 6, and he did a little bit better in the regular stage 3 most recently, but still not very well. So that's definitely, I think, driving his price down. But usually when this guy gets on the international stage, he absolutely kills it. And I'm going to pick him as my entry player. I wouldn't be mad at anybody for picking Snake or Grixer or maybe even Resets as their entry, but I expect Cyber to do pretty well. We'll see. I don't know. I sort of have this bad feeling about FaZe in this tournament in general, but I feel like they also have one of the easier groups. So my expectation is that Wolves and FaZe will make it out of the group, and FaZe, if you stack everything up from like the last year or so, maybe even a little bit more than the year, but however you want to call it, about the last year, FaZe is probably the most consistently good international team. So I'm happy picking them picking one of their players, and that's actually the team I end up picking. So let's take a quick look at the prices. So not a ton of deviation here. You know, none of these teams cost 31 like Keys and Palu do, and none of them are below 16, I guess. Oh no, Fury does cost 13, but everyone else is at, oh no, and Mirage are 14. Okay, I stand corrected. Everybody else is above 15, I believe, and then the highest is W7M at 26. I went with FaZe, and again, I picked my team before I picked my 5th player. And I did go with FaZe, so if FaZe doesn't make it out of the group, it's going to be really brutal for my draft because I have them as a team and also one of their players. And here we are on the Infamy Discord page. So there's a bunch of different things you can do that you can check out. I have most of these minimized, but the really important one that you need to make sure you go to is Fantasy R6, and then you're just going to post your team in here. So again, you probably want to set up so that you only get notifications for one particular game. Maybe you want them for all of the games, but you can certainly do that, and you can discuss other matters with people if you want to talk about other Rainbow Six stuff. There's channels for that. But if you want to post your team, which is the one thing that I advise that you must do, I beg of you, please do it, please. It's so much more fun when you have a bunch of people, right? I think we had a really good showing for the previous tournament, and I would expect even more people. You know, most of the people that did the last one do it again, and then some new people sign up. It should be really, really exciting. It's if you don't think it's that fun, I think you'll find it to be more fun than you expect. Maybe you've never done fantasy before. If you have any interest in Siege esports at all, just sign up. It's no cost or anything, and you can see. Maybe you'll just win. You never know. Okay, so I'm just going to paste what I already have into here, and you don't have to use this format exactly. You can see there's a few deviations. Just make sure you have each player name and their price. Make sure you designate an entry player and a support player, and make sure you have your team in here. You don't necessarily have to do the total, I guess, because they're going to come in and fact check your prices and your total anyways, but you could throw it in there if you so desire. And this is just the cleanest way, I think, to do it with the dashes and exclude the dollar signs, but you know, it doesn't really matter if you include them. So I'm just going to put this in here, and at some point somebody's going to go through here and react, probably with this bread reaction, and that indicates that they've received your input, and they've probably already put it on the spreadsheet. And so keep in mind, I think I did gloss past this earlier. You might have noticed from the time of recording, you have a little bit more than a week. It's like a week and 22 hours or something from the time I'm recording this. So make sure you have your team in by November the 21st. I think you could technically do it the day of if you do it before the event starts, but maybe as a little bit of a courtesy, try to do it no later than the 20th of November. The event does start on the 21st. And also, if you need to do any sort of editing, you can just go through and edit your message. Probably also type a message in here saying that you made the edit so that they will know to go back and look again to make your change. But also make sure if you make any change that it is within the $120 salary requirement. Also, make sure you have exactly 5 players and exactly 1 team, and spend no more than 120. I mean, that's all you really have to worry about. And this has been a pretty long video, but the process is actually super simple. You know, if I could boil it down, I guess I would, but I wanted to give a bunch of my thoughts and make sure everybody had a good understanding of what's going on here. So that's pretty much going to do it for me. I have a little bit of an outro blurb for you guys, but yeah, I guess we'll just go to that, and like, comment, subscribe, and please do this. Like, it's just super fun. It's a lot of fun when a lot of people do it. More fun the more people, and you might actually be surprised if you think you won't enjoy it. If you have any interest in Rainbow Six esports at all, if you'll be watching the major, this definitely provides an added level of excitement. So one more time, November 21st is the roster submission deadline. You can see it here from the time of recording, 7 days, 22 hours, 22 minutes. So make sure you get it in by this date at this time. But again, I would recommend doing it before the 21st. Infamy runs free fantasy tournaments for Rainbow Six Siege and also Valorant and Overwatch. So check those out if you are interested in those games or their esports. And finally, head to the Infamy Discord to join up to this league. The link will be below in the description. Just go click on it, do the process that I showed you. Super easy. I'd really appreciate it, and I think that's going to do it for me. So I will catch you guys in the next video.